Hello, everyone. I'm Randall Kopfer. I'm the president of the Short-Term Rental Owners Association of Galveston. I'll be the facilitator for this evening's presentation. We're asking that only the candidates have their cameras live. So if you're viewing the forum, if you would turn your cameras off, that would be great so that we can concentrate on those that are candidates. I'm so happy to welcome y'all to our virtual candidate forum. I'm delighted to have all of our candidates for mayor and council here willing to share their vision for the future of Galveston with us. To the members of Strogue in attendance, please remain on the Zoom after the forum concludes, as we have one important item to present, and that is the approval of the budget. To our new members and business partners, we will recognize you at our next in-person meeting in June. I would like to introduce Strogue board member and director of social media, Anna Dre, to present the rules and guidelines.
Thank you, Randall. All right, guys. So as he mentioned during the forum, we're asking everybody, attendees, to keep their cameras off. Candidates, feel free to keep yours on. We're going to keep our mics off, though, unless we're actually interacting and answering, just to keep interference down. As outlined in the emails, we're going to follow the League of Women Voters model, which means you will have 1.5 minutes or 90 seconds for every time you speak. You will begin with an introduction of yourself. Then there will be 3 rounds of questions. Then you will get to close. All of those are 90-second time slots. We're going to, for the mayors, mayoral candidates, we're going to, because it's a smaller group, we're going to start with Craig and then go to Benjamin and then go to Bo, for the who has the first response. Council candidates, there's so many of you guys that would be tough for us. So the way we're going to do you guys is you're going to answer by district. I don't see, we did invite all the candidates. We had confirmations for all the candidates, but something may have come up. I don't see Sharon Lewis here. Does anybody see her in the room? Anyway, alert me if you see her. So if she's not here, we'll start with District 2. And if there's more than one candidate in the field, which there are for most, it's going to be alphabetical order for introduction and for questions. So that some people like first, some people like second, so it's not always the same. For the closing remarks, we will reverse that order. We know you guys are a very interesting and fine group of neighbors and servant leaders. We are very eager to hear what you have to say. We want to hear your opinion on things. We ask you to let your opponents speak for themselves. We're really asking the candidates not to tell us their opponent's position as much as we want to hear your position. And we're gonna adhere to that pretty strictly. If you veer off and start telling us your opponent's position, we'll probably correct you. So we ask for your cooperation on that. Mayoral candidates, you're going to have the first 20 minutes. If we're able to get through more than 3 questions, great. We have other questions ready. If not, once we end the mayoral portion, you're welcome to leave. You're also welcome to stay. But I know you guys spend a lot of times doing these meetings. Council candidates, when your portion is done, you are also welcome to leave or stay as you prefer. But we know you're having to give up a lot of valuable family time in service, and we appreciate all y'all.
Thank you, Anna. So with that, we're going to start with the mayoral candidates. We have with us tonight Mayor Craig Brown, candidate Benjamin Herndon, and candidate Roger Bo Quiroga. And so the first question I have for y'all,
Randall,
Mayor. Yes.
I am so sorry. I knew I was going to forget this. As we told you guys, there's a timekeeper when you have 30 seconds left. Oh yeah, this virtual background may have been a bad idea. I'm going to turn mine off. Yeah, I'm going to turn mine off. So you will be flashed 30 seconds, 15 seconds, and there'll be time up when your time is up. Randall, give me 2 seconds to turn off my virtual background.
I sure will.
How did I turn that on? There it is. Okay.
Go down to your stop video, hit the
Yeah,
upper.
none.
There you go.
So you'll be flashed a time so that you, so it's not a surprise when your time is up. When you see the 00, please wrap up the sentence you're on, and then we'll go on to the next.
Okay, so with that, Mayor Brown, the first question is, as the city looks to manage revenue streams, what ideas do you have to balance the financial responsibilities between residents and tourists?
Well, the main way to do that is
I'm so, again, we forgot to let them introduce themselves, Randall.
Oh, I am sorry. Okay, this is our first rodeo. Mayor Brown, you have a minute and a half for your introduction. I am so sorry.
thank you
Thank-
for having me tonight. I'm looking forward to the forum. Seems like just yesterday we were going through this election process, and it's mainly because this term has been cut short by the pandemic. I'm a little different than the other candidates, that the way you can evaluate me is not only from what I say I'm going to do, but what, more importantly, what I've done. And it's easy to promise anything, but actually doing it is another. My goals when I came into office were many, and those many of them were like having financial stability, improving our infrastructure, working with our drainage and getting a drainage plan that was working for this community, and getting pump stations that were funded. And we now have 2 of them, $80 million of pump stations totally funded. And all of this happened in an atmosphere of transparency, inclusiveness, and professionalism, which is just as important as the accomplishments themselves. And as far as the growing short-term rental industry is concerned, I worked with your representatives a few years back to develop one of the first short-term rental registration programs in the state. And I'm looking forward to more discussions as the industry evolves. We still have more to do, and I'm looking forward to a very successful future. Thank you.
Benjamin Herndon, your opening remarks.
Hello, my name is Benjamin Herndon. I'm here to ask for everyone's vote for Mayor of Galveston. I'm an island native, and my goal for the city is to try and steer it to where it works more, to build a Galveston that works more for Galvestonians. I want to emphasize on building infrastructure and cooperation between all of our commercial enterprises, the city government, and the people, to try and do things that will more actively engage the people's will and businesses' will and create solutions that serve all of us. For the short-term rental community, I really would like to hear what all of you want and try and work between you, with our realtors, and with the various housing associations to try and find a solution to the growing number of short-term rentals, to the various types of short-term rentals, so that we can have a pathway that really works for everyone, to build an island that works together and can create real solutions that help all of us out in the end.
Thank you. Bo Caroga, your opening remarks.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here, and thank you for this forum. I appreciate it. My name's Roger Bo Caroga, as you said, and I'm a 3-term former mayor from 1998 to 2004. We took a city that was nearly bankrupt and turned it around, and we laid the foundation for what everything is happening today. And I'm very, very proud of that. And, we did everything from getting cruise ships here to getting the Galvez Mall done, all the condos, the convention center, and so on and so on. We basically put about $2 billion on our tax rolls. I'm a 2-term chairman of the Galveston Chamber of Commerce. And that was another ordeal where, it was struggling, and then we got that turned around as well. So I was born and raised here, played professional baseball, love this town like nobody else does. And, it's time for this city to come together. And I'm the glue that can bring this city together as I did before. So again, thank you very much. And I look forward to the rest of the evening.
Thank all the mayor candidates for your opening comments. And that'll bring us back to Mayor Brown and the first question, which is, as the city looks to manage revenue streams, what ideas do you have to balance the financial responsibilities between residents and tourists? You're on mute, Mayor.
Thank you. The main thing that I do, and I do this with every decision that comes to council, the first thing I ask myself is how this decision affects the community and the citizens that live here. And when I do that, that helps me give a perspective on that particular subject that really puts the citizens first. The other way that we do that, when we come to budget time, we need to put emphasis in the use of our monies here on the quality of life issues. Those are public safety, those are street repair, those are drainage, those are good park systems. Those are having sports fields and so forth for the citizens and the children that live here. And it's always good to put those things as our first components of our budget, so that we make sure those are funded that support the quality of life for our residents. And once we do that, then everything else falls into place.
Thank you. Benjamin Herndon, as the city looks to manage revenue streams, what ideas do you have to balance the financial responsibilities between residents and tourists?
So, like I said, I want to make Galveston more for Galvestonians. I think that we need to find ways that'll share the burden of the tax revenue we currently have on this island. I think that we're an island of 50,000 people that has 7.4 million tourists a year. My goal as mayor would be to try to get $2 off of every tourist. And I'd like to explore multiple options for that. I'd like to talk with TxDOT to see about putting a toll booth that has a pay-by-mail system and works with the Easy Pass system in Texas to just get $2, $1 on, $1 off the island, that Galvestonians would be exempt from, and would use a license plate system that would exempt Galvestonians from it, that you could register with the city or with Easy Pass. I'd like to do port of entry fees for those who come in on the cruise terminals, to just charge them $1. In St. Martin's, they charge you 25. I believe in New Orleans, they charge you 8. So it'd still be one of the cheapest in the country. My goal is to try and find a way to just get some money out of every tourist that comes here, especially those day tourists that go onto the island, go have a couple beers that they bought at the Buc-ee's, and then leave the beers here for us to pick up later. I want to try and make it to where we, as the small taxpayer base we have of 50,000 people, doesn't have to take care of 7.4 million. I want them to share in this and help take care of the Galveston that they love as we love, because it's our home and we're opening it up to them.
Thank you. Bo Quiroga, as the city looks to manage revenue streams, what ideas do you have to balance the financial responsibilities between residents and tourists?
Well, residents need to come first. And then after that, we got the tourist. The thing that we can't do is leave money on the table. And from what I'm seeing with the short-term rentals, is that we're leaving money on the table. We can't follow through on decisions that need to be made. If you're going to be a good mayor, you have to have backbone, and you've got to have a way to converse with everybody and have the betterment of the whole community in mind, instead of these folks that tend to look toward having things done for their friends and that kind of thing. we have a great opportunity here in the city to keep generating good revenue as far as tourism is concerned. And we also have a very good opportunity by looking at the way we're spending money at the city. I think there's millions and millions of dollars that can be saved, but it's going to take a lot of nerve and it's going to take tenacity and backbone to do that. And I've done it so many times before, and I'll do it again. And we got to make sure that we know ourselves that the people come first, and we have to do what's good for Galvestonians.
Thank you. For the second question, we're going to start with Benjamin Herndon. What is your vision for short-term rentals, which we call STRs, and their role in the community?
Well, it's a difficult question to answer. I don't dislike short-term rentals. I think they're good in many ways. They've taken homes that were dilapidated and that might be too cost ineffective for an individual to take and rehabilitate, and have rehabilitated them and made them productive parts of the community. I really love the small short-term rental, especially the person who's renting out a second home in their backyard at their homestead or something like that, or someone who has just a few properties. I do, and I'll be contentious, I have a bit of a grievance with a large-scale short-term rental project, because I think it kind of goes against the nature of what short-term rentals are, which is a B&B that's meant to be sort of a community operation at its core, to be a small-scale operation at its core. And I'm not quite sure what the path forward for that is. I've looked into it, and I think the best way would be to have a referendum to the people to see how much of the housing stock they'd want in general to be allocated to short-term rentals. I think setting up a licensing system that's not burdensome. I don't like anything that would be punitive to the business owners. And I think working with organizations like Strogue here to try and figure out what it is would work best for you guys, who are mostly, as I understand it from Anna, small mom and pop shops running short-term rentals, not running 100 units or something, what the best solution for you guys would be as well.
Thank you. Bo Quiroga, what is your vision for short-term rentals, STRs, and their role in the community?
I'm a consensus builder, and what I want to do is to make sure that we get everybody that has a dog in this hunt to the table and discuss this amongst ourselves. And I like to see everybody win. I just don't want to see one organization come out ahead of the city or the city come out ahead of the organization. I want everybody to win, and I want everyone to treat each other with respect. This is a very contentious item that we're talking about. Some people like them, some people don't. I think they're very good if we can keep the big boxes out of here, because the locals are controlling what they need to control. It's the big boxes coming in here. They're getting our appraisal rates high, and that's going to hurt a lot of people. So there's a lot of discussion that needs to be had, and I want to bring everyone together to make sure that we're all on the same page. We need to talk to each other and come up with some teeth in an ordinance that's going to be good for our locals especially, and then we'll see what we need to do with the other folks, the big boxes.
Thank you very much. Mayor Brown, what is your vision for short-term rentals, STRs, and their role in the community?
Well, I'll be following the same path that I've followed for years with STRs. They're part of this community. They're a viable part of this community. And from an economic standpoint, a very viable part of this community. We will work with the industry as we did with the registration process that we put together. We now have moved in and we worked with the industry on an ordinance that allowed for the collection of hot tax by some of the larger platforms. And that ordinance also allowed us to control short-term rentals from the standpoint of they had to be registered with the city to list with these platforms. And we worked with the industry on that. We're now working with the industry to come up with a software program that will collect data on the short-term rentals. You really can't work with an industry unless you have the data that's involved. And so we're working with the park board, the short-term rental group, and the committee that has industry representatives to move forward, and to each time we come up with a thought about what we want to do and rules and regulations that may be a potential, we need to sit down and work that out. And I know we can, because we've done that in the past many times.
Thank you, Mary Brown. For the third question, we're going to start with Bo Quiroga. Some communities take the approach of charging moderate STR registration fees, thereby encouraging registration compliance, coupled with high fines associated with operating without registering or not paying their hot taxes. Do you agree with this approach? And if not, what alternative do you propose?
Well, I don't think it's going to be my alternative. It's going to be our alternative. No, I don't agree with that at all. You know, if they owe us hot tax, we need to collect the hot tax. Now, we've been going on for years about collecting hot tax on the short-term rentals. Nothing has been done until maybe a year or so ago. Closer to the election, the more we can get serious about stuff. You know, we've lost a lot of money. I don't think there's anybody that can look us straight in the face and tell us that we're collecting everything we're due, because we're not. I've even heard in talking to people that, yeah, they know of people cheating on hot tax. And that's what I was talking about earlier. We need to develop together an ordinance that is going to eliminate that kind of thing. And once we all agree on where we want to go forward, and I think we'll have that. It already is, but it just needs to be refined, and it needs to be refined with the help of each other.
Mayor Brown, do you need me to reread the question, or?
If you wouldn't mind, please.
Okay.
Sir.
Some communities take the approach of charging moderate STR registration fees, thereby encouraging registration compliance, coupled with high fines associated with operating without registering and not paying hot taxes. Do you agree with this approach? And if not, what alternative do you propose?
Well, I do agree to a certain extent with that approach, because we already have a registration fee, an annual registration fee for short-term rentals. There's been talk among people about increasing that. And I'm very vocal about this, that I will not increase short-term rental registration fee until we collect data and know exactly what that monies will be used for. To use the short-term rental as a revenue source to bring money into the city for other unrelated activities is not the thing to do. So the first thing we need to do is collect data. The software program will allow us to do that at the city. And I think once we get that data, we know how many units we have out there. We can ascertain exactly where the concerns are and the individuals and the short-term rentals that are causing all the nuisance problems and so forth. Then we can go ahead and look at what would be a registration fee that would be appropriate. May not even be more than we're charging now, which is $50 for an annual registration fee. But we need to collect this data. If you don't do that, you're running off of anecdotal information, and that doesn't serve anybody well, especially the short-term rental industry.
Thank you. Benjamin Herndon, would you like me to reread the question for you? Or?
No, I still remember it.
Okay.
I think I'm generically opposed to double taxation of any sort. I don't really see how a registration fee encourages someone to register to then pay a hot tax. I think that's a little bit silly myself. So I don't think there's a need for a registration fee if someone's going to pay hot tax. Now, a fine for not registering, yeah, that's fair, because it's good to collect data on who has short-term rentals. This is useful for us and for the organization. And, you populate that into a Google Maps document so that you can see where they all are. Then you can put it into various other systems so you can see trafficking data and things like that. And you can create an open, accessible, interactive data set that the city would have. I think that's a very good idea. If we're not taking hot tax from the short-term rentals, which I believe I myself am a little bit confused because I thought there was a state legislation that was attempting to prescribe people taking hot tax from vacation rentals. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but that's what I was told recently. If that's the case, then I think a registration fee is fair and a moderate fee that would be charged at a staggered rate depending on the capacity of that vacation rental or its proven revenue stream would probably be fair, just as another version of a progressive tax. But overall, I'm opposed to double taxation.
Okay, that brings us to closing remarks, and I believe we're starting with the mayor, for Mayor Brown, for closing remarks. You're on mute. There you go.
I want to thank everyone for this forum. I think we all learn from these forums, and I know I do. This is a very important election coming up. The city has moved forward due to developing workable solutions for our concerns, and it is important in my mind to continue this path forward. There are challenges, but working together, those can be overcome. The days of pointing fingers and making unfounded accusations are over. Galveston deserves better than this. No matter if it's the completion of the Pelican Island Bridge, redefining the goals of tourism, or working with the short-term rental industry to enhance community relations, everything we do affects the quality of life for our residents and the economic well-being of everyone. And this is how a community grows. I'm honored to serve as your mayor. And if you can't tell, I'm bullish on Galveston. Thank you for your support and input these past years to everyone. And if I'm fortunate enough to get reelected, you will continue to see my focus, as it has been in the past, devoted to making our community even better while always having an open door policy for new ideas. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Benjamin Herndon, your closing remarks.
Hello, thank you all for having me here. I really appreciate it. I want to take Galveston forward. I want us, my home, I want all of us to want to go forward. I want this island to seek out a future that works for its community first, that doesn't just repurpose tourism, but sees the future of tourism by working on our own community, by taking care of the infrastructure we have, making bike lanes, making parks, making a usable interactive city that we can feel our needs reflected in, that is as alive as we are, a city that is engaged with the people actively, that's not aloof, not difficult to reach, but is entirely accountable, that is entirely integrated and digitally accessible. I want us to have a Galveston app for those of us who use it. And for those of us who don't, when we call our city, I want us to have the hospitality experience that everyone comes to Galveston for. I want us to be able to reflect both as a government and as a community the virtues that we as Galvestonians really believe in. Integrity, hospitality, and having fun. I want us to take Galveston forward into the future. I want it to be the home that I will be happy to have for the next 50 years, as it's been for the last 29. I want this to be the place that I will happily live in and start my family and own a home in. And I want all of us to have that same experience. Thank you. Vote Herndon.
Thank you. Bo Quiroga, your closing remarks.
Again, thank you very much for having us here this evening. I really do appreciate it. I was born and raised here 69 years ago, and had an opportunity when I was playing pro baseball to live anywhere I wanted in the United States. And lo and behold, I wound up back here in my hometown. I know Galveston like no other. Galveston has been good to me, and I will always be grateful, and I want to do good for Galveston. And with my 3 terms as mayor, I think I did that. And I see a lot of other opportunities now that we're squandering. I don't think we're running the city as efficiently as it could be. And as time goes on, you know, I can show you how to save millions and millions of dollars, because, you know, we have a situation now where our inflation has taken off, and, you know, we're going to have to squeeze those tax dollars. I'm not in agreement in a lot of things that we're doing. You know, the city goes and gets money from the library, the $50 fee for the registration fee. You take that, compare it to golf cart rentals, $150, kind of out of whack there. That's why we all need to get together and decide what we want to do. And we just got to go for it. And by working together, we're going to make Galveston the best city in the country. Thank you.
I want to thank all the candidates for mayor for coming and being with us tonight. Thank you very much. Has Councilwoman Sharon Lewis joined us? I do not
I
see.
don't see her on there, Randall. So we will just skip District 1 and
We'll-
if
We'll move on.
yeah,
We'll
if
move
people
on.
could help us keep an eye out if you see her come in. We've got, at one point we had 49, we have 40, which I'm proud of that turnout. And we've got 46 people in here. So let us know if you see her pop in.
Okay. So that brings us to Councilman William Schuster from District 2. Your opening remarks.
Good evening, everybody. I'm William Schuster over here in District 2. I started this campaign way back in August of 2019 before COVID. First getting involved into politics, going to my first neighborhood meetings were the first places that I went to touch base. COVID happened, pushed it back, took office, and then 55 weeks later, here we are with another election. Now, fortunately, I don't necessarily have an opponent, you know, this go around, but it does create the opportunity to still reach out to the constituents, talk to the, you know, people in the community, and to see, you know, what the issues are. A little bit about myself, you know, I'm born and raised in Galveston. I live in the old Schuster house here on 17th Street. I'm a former teacher here for the district for the last 8 years. This last January, I left education and started my own business here on the island in real estate. So now, you know, I have a perspective on both eyes, you know, as far as, both industries, as far as the public sector and in the private sector, especially on the emphasis with real estate. The last couple of years, I've always put the quality of living for our residents in our neighborhoods. You know, it's kind of our top priority of what we do here at the city. I've been a big believer that if you do those things with quality of living, it creates other opportunities such as economic development. And Galveston, you know, I think has a really big opportunity as far as, you know, heading in that direction. Sorry, I see I'm out of town. Thank you.
So we have the same 3 questions for you that we asked the mayoral candidates.
Hey,
So the
Randall,
Yes.
I'm so sorry. I think what our plan was and what I have communicated to the candidates is we do all the introductions, then all the questions.
For all the, okay, great. So we'll move on to District 3. We'll move on to District 3 then. And first up is Councilman David Collins for your opening remarks.
Thanks, Randall, and thanks to Strode for hosting this forum tonight. It affords us a rare opportunity to speak to a group with a specific area of interest. I know that most of you are residents, home and business owners, and have an interest in the health of the city in general, but you're also in the crosshairs of a hot button issue that affects you and Galveston as it does cities all across the country. And I want to tell you how we plan to go about addressing those concerns. But first, I want you to know that Galveston is on a path to growth, prosperity, and an ever-improving quality of life. That's our focus at City Council, making sure this is the best place to live in Texas. The city is financially strong. We have the lowest debt-to-asset ratio in the last 50 years, and we've maintained a AA bond rating. We maintain a strong operating reserve. That's crucially important in the face of the next storm. On short-term rentals, we're building a database that we can defend so that we can defend whatever future regulations and fees we impose. That is critical. As you listen to the candidates tonight, ask yourself, are their policy proposals reasonable? Are they sustainable? Will they get us into court, or will they establish methods for working together? Bottom line, are they based on defensible data, or are we just reacting to anti-STR anecdotes? There are issues, no one disputes that. The Strogue has an important role in helping us craft a framework that works for all of Galveston. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you. Also from District 3 is Frank Maceo, your opening remarks.
Hey guys, Frank Maceo here. I'm running for District 3 to be the council rep. Once again, I served as a council rep from 2016 to 2018. And I was part of bringing Galveston our first ever 5-year capital improvement plan, which doesn't roll. So, you know, I want to do that again. I want to bring back dedicated funds, specifically dedicated for neighborhoods. That's a tool that me and my council had back when I was on council, and it was an effective tool to get real capital improvements done in the neighborhoods. And we were doing something every year, and every year we were dedicating money. And you know, that program is now defunded, and I want to refund that project. I want to refund all those projects, pick up all those projects that were dropped when I left office, and I want to finish them. And I want to bring money back to the neighborhoods for streets, street lights, curbs, alleys, and sidewalks. And that's what I'm about. If you want to know about short-term rentals, I guess you could ask about specific questions. So feel free.
Thank you very much. That brings us to District 4. Mikey Bouvier, your opening remarks. You're on mute.
There you go. Yeah, I'm getting it right now. Sorry about that. Hi, Mike Bouvier, running for District 4 City Council. Been on the island for 10 years, had a small business called Hey Mikey's Ice Cream. Retired from that now, a member of the Chamber of Commerce, a member of the Texas Restaurant Association, also sat on a small business advisory task force for the state of Texas for 2 years, nominated by Wayne Faircloth on that. You know, this island has been very good to me as far as a business person, and I'm going to watch out for the other small businesses on this island, and that includes short-term rentals. At one point, we owned 7 houses on the island and had rented those out. I feel like I'm a good candidate for this, and looking forward to a good race. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Alexander, also from District 4 is Alexander Nelson, your opening remarks.
Hey everybody, my name is Alexander Nelson. I'm a District 4 candidate for City Council. Basically, I'm running on accountability, infrastructure, crime, and community. Our crime rate is 70% above the national average, and Galveston just can do better. We should strive to be one of the safest cities in America. Our infrastructure, we can do better with our infrastructure. We can get things done cheaper and faster, and using a diversification of companies. You know, I went to A&M Galveston. I got my master's in marine resource management with a coastal planning background. We can find these innovative companies and bring them to Galveston. And District 4 is a primarily residential district. And there's been, you know, talk about streets with like 45th Street. There's been some issues that should be brought moving forward to the forefront. Also, community is a big part of Galveston. You know, I'm a 4th or 5th generation Galvestonian. It's hard to tell when documents and family gets lost in the 1900 storm, but you know, Galveston's community is the greatest thing about it. And, you know, I want to see a residents first approach, and we have to come together or we're going to have these problems consistently, like Airbnb problems. But we need a stakeholder consensus to make this a better community for all of us, including residents that own short-term rentals.
Thank you very much. That brings us to District 5. And first up is Councilman John Paul Listowski. Your opening remarks.
Thank you for having us tonight. My name is John Paul Listowski. I have served as your District 5 Council Rep for the last 2 terms. Looking to make it a third term to serve you again. I was born here on the island, went to Texas A&M University, moved back to the island after college and started a small business. I started serving my community at the city level back in 2005 when I was appointed to the Planning Commission. I've served on several boards and commissions since then, all the way to being elected as a councilman. The 3 things that I'm focused on most is public safety, infrastructure, and quality of life here on the island. Just to hit on a couple of those briefly, public safety. When I first got elected, we had a police pension plan problem. We have solved that. And now we are having to deal with our fire pension plan. Infrastructure, we've got some great projects around the island. You can see that every day driving around town. We've done more infrastructure on this island than we ever have, and we'll continue to do that. And then quality of life. We need to continue to make Galveston a great place to live for our citizens and find a balance between our tourism and our citizens that live here full time. Please, I'd love for you to elect me again and serve for the next 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Michael, and you're going to have to help me with the pronunciation of your last name, also from District 5.
Guys, I'm Michael Niebuhr. First I'll apologize for my voice. I have had some vocal cord issues, so turn your volumes up and I'll try to speak clearly. I'm Michael Niebuhr. I'm a BOI born and raised here on the island, but I'm also an IBC. After leaving and going off to college at Texas A&M, I did choose to come back here. And I think both of those are important aspects to representing Galveston. Somebody not only was born here, but also chooses to live here, like clearly all of the candidates are. I spent, when I moved back here, I spent about 10 years in the service industry. So I have an aspect on understanding our tourists, our restaurants, and that nature. But then I went back to school, and then I spent another 7 years working for nonprofits, and now I currently work for the state. So I've always had an aspect of life of giving back to my communities where I'm living and never doing things for myself. And so I think that's what makes me a candidate for Galveston, is understanding what other people need and other people want, and be willing to work with everybody around me, my colleagues, and then also listening to people that I may disagree with, but if consensus comes around, I'm open to all things. Whatever works best for the city is kind of the direction that I want to take the island. I think we have to put our residents first. We can't forget that, yes, we have lots of industry, but our number one industry in Galveston is the people who live here, and they've got to come first, always.
Thank you. That brings us to District 6, candidate Marty Fluke.
Thank you. Let me unmute. Since this is a strobe forum, I'll try and hold most of my comments to short-term rentals. I'll tell you that I grew up in Dallas and I have a bachelor's and master's degree from Southern Methodist University, had a relatively successful business career. I've run companies the size of or larger than the city, 300 million in revenue. But that isn't necessarily important to this discussion. What is important to this discussion is I'm a trustee of the Galveston Island Park Board. And the Park Board is responsible for collection of the hotel occupancy tax and also the registration of short-term rentals. So I was fortunate enough with Spencer Priest and David Jacoby to recruit the new CFO into the Park Board named Bryson Frazier. And Bryson is chairman of the committee that we talked about earlier. And when I was doing transition with Bryson, we noticed that the state hotel occupancy tax collection was about 16% higher than the city. So we started trying to figure out why that was. So we looked at VCAs, we changed the ordinance, and now we're trying to figure out how to get everybody on the same page. And we're trying to get empirical data, work on facts, not innuendo. So we need to let the process play out that's being run by the Short-Term Rental Association, the city, and the Park Board together. that point in time, we can figure out what the fees ought to be. I don't believe draconian or punitive measures. So thanks for your time. I'm out.
And from District 6, Councilwoman Marie Robb, your opening remarks.
Hi, I'm Marie Robb. I'm the current council person for District 6. I also served on city council from 2012 to 2014. I have been a full-time resident here in District 6 for 25 years. I have to say I truly love representing the people. And the people are our boss. They're the people who elect us, and that's who we work for. So my district is different from most districts because we are 20 miles long. And my focus from the beginning, which is why I chose to run, has been infrastructure, public safety, lowering our property taxes, and beach and surge protection. Infrastructure is really key to this district because we have experienced so many issues when it comes to electricity. A lot of the district does not have natural gas. We have inadequate cell towers. So I have focused on those things and have been able to achieve moving them forward, hardening our infrastructure. I think as a whole, what we need to look at in Galveston is sustainable industries such as biotech, technology transfer.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. You're
sorry.
No, if you
I'm
just
on my cell phone, I can't see that.
I'm so sorry, Mommy.
Sorry. I switched screens, so I will see it in the future.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. I hated to interrupt.
Okay, as we move to the questions portion, we're gonna go back and start with District 2. I'm gonna read the question. As we move forward, when I call your name as we move through the districts, if you need me to reread the question, please ask me to do so. In the essence of giving you all more time, I don't want to read the question at every single time if I don't need to. So if you remember the question, but I'm happy to reread it for anyone that needs it. So we're going to start with District 2, Councilman William Schuster. As the city looks to manage revenue streams, what ideas do you have to balance the financial responsibilities between residents and tourists?
Great question. Looking at balancing the needs and finances of residents and tourists, like I said earlier, the quality of living of residents is always the top priority. Now, the thing is that as the state, as the city moves more towards, and the state really more of a consumptive tax with tax, coming from your sales tax and ideas on how to increase revenue streams there. That means, Galveston is ample for prime opportunity with, the diversification that we can have to create more sales tax. But also when we look at, spending money on tourism that, benefits residents, that's things like our historical preservation, our arts, our sports tourism. Those are things that residents get to enjoy that, if you make Galveston a cool place to live, it's obviously a great place to visit. If it's a good place to visit, it's probably because, it's a great place to live. So, that's kind of where I stand on the whole balance in tourism and, residents' needs as far as, what can we do on the island that residents can enjoy that also increases tourism, and what kind of ways can we, increase our sources of sales tax on the island?
Thank you. That moves to District 3, Councilman David Collins.
Yeah, balancing is a tough act. It's really easy to say quality of life, but what does that mean? What it means is keeping Galveston safe, clean, and enjoyable. Enjoyable if you live here, enjoyable if you want to visit here. The health of business is what's truly important. Short-term rentals are small business. We want them to flourish, but we want our boutiques, we want our restaurants, we want our hotels, we want our attractions to flourish as well. Because when they do, two things happen. It becomes a nice place for residents. A lot of residents go to Moody Gardens. They go to other amenities on the island. They go to the Grand Opera House. These things are in part supported by hotel tax. Hotel tax comes strictly from visitors. We have 4,000 short-term rentals on the island. We collected $9.2 million in hotel tax through February of 2022. 50% of that came from short-term rentals. Short-term rentals are an increasingly important part of how we fund operations on the park board, the beach patrol, beach cleaning, beach renourishment, including how we promote many of our quality amenities, like I say, the Grand, the Galveston Historical Foundation, the Bryan Museum, the Opera, the Symphony. So we're trying our best to make these amenities work for residents as well as for the visitors.
Thank you. Again, from District 3, Frank Maceo. You're on mute, Frank.
Could you read that question again?
Yes, I sure can. As the city looks at its revenue streams, what ideas do you have to balance the financial responsibilities between residents and tourists?
Okay, so I would have had a hard time arguing this my first term on council. I would have had a little bit easier time answering this my last election. But this election, I feel really confident that I'm ready to make this argument, and people in Galveston are ready to listen to it. And the argument that I'm going to make is, if we're going to balance this whole tourism resident thing, okay, and we're going to look at over half the hotel taxes getting generated in our neighborhoods, all right, on our blocks that we have residential folks, living on, man, I think it's time that we guarantee and we ensure as a city that we ensure that those people that we're inviting down have nice, sidewalks and curbs and streetlights and things like that. So when they get here, they go back home and they talk about how beautiful this island is. Okay. So, I think I really do believe that the short-term rental industry has an interest in using hotel tax money to do projects in the neighborhoods, in and around the areas that short-term rentals are in our neighborhoods. Now, to do this, if we wanted to just go out there and say, hey, state of Texas, we're gonna start paving streets just willy-nilly out here, and we're gonna use hot tax money to do it, I don't think it would fly. But we're in a community now where we're generating more hot tax in our neighborhoods than we are up on the seawall in downtown like it was when I was a little kid. So I think it's high time that if we're going to balance the financial strains that the tourism industry brings about in Galveston.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
And I'll finish. I think it's time that we start tapping into the tourism dollars to start doing that. I'll finish that.
Thank you.
That brings us to District 4, Mikey Bouvier.
Yeah, so I think what we need to look at is new revenue streams from our tourism to explore some different ways of getting some different revenue while protecting the small business and not putting it on the small business to bring that up. And then the quality of life of our residents, making sure that we have the safety and the infrastructure needed to have a safe city.
Great. Also, District 4, Alexander Nelson.
I think that the city administration, in terms of balancing the revenue streams, has kind of failed in past years. The park board missed out on approximately, according to my data, $3.5 to $4 million before passing the ordinance for collection of the city hot tax. That's money that could have been used for projects for sports tourism and other things that could have benefited the residents. I think the residents are kind of taking a backseat in terms of enjoyment of their community, in terms of how much tourists come here. You know, we have 7 million tourists that come here annually, and you know, our beaches, they get clean, but they also get trashed, and you know, it's a toll. And you know, we have a vagrant problem, and some of them break into homes and businesses. And I think we really need to start realizing, are we going to let tourism be the shining beacon of light and over our residents? And I would like to see a better residents first approach in terms of, you know, enforcement of the litter laws, enforcement of, you know, just some of the basic things that we need in Galveston to put the residents first. But you know, running a tourism business, I understand the dollar that does come here, but we still need to put residents first in our approach.
Thank you. That brings us to District 5, Councilman John Paul Listowski.
Yes, you know, I think we need to promote growth. I mean, we need to continue to let people know that Galveston's open for business, and we need to do that by having fair regulations that govern that. William brought up a good point earlier that we are looking to switch to more of a consumptive tax, and that means sales tax. And so if we continue to promote
John Paul, your microphone got muted somehow. Can you unmute, please? There you go. You have a full minute left. I'm timing, so I know how much time.
I don't know where I got cut off there, but you know, so we need to focus on increasing our sales tax and offset that by reducing our property tax to help our citizens here in town. We also need amenities that are not only for our tourists, but for our residents. And so that growth needs to come with amenities that are attractive for our residents as well.
Thank you. That brings us also District 5, Michael Niebuhr.
Thank you. I agree 100% with what most of what sounds like we've said is we need to put a lot of this burden on tourists. Residents have their own issues, and what, you know, residents, what we pay for and what we support is one thing. We need to make sure that tourists pay their fair share, and in some cases more than their fair share. We get people who come in, they go to hotels and they pay those taxes, but we get a lot of day visitors. We got to find ways that we can get revenue from day visitors who get their gas, their ice, their food, their beers and stuff off the island, come to the island, spend the day on the beach and leave. You know, we have paid parking, but we need to find ways to get more on that. If we can increase some sales tax and try to get people to go out, enjoy our restaurants, spend time, you know, purchase stuff in our shops, promote those small businesses that are attracting visitors away from just the beaches. I'm really putting that effort into what would draw them to really enjoy Galveston. Like a lot of us residents do, we always find things to do, events and things that as residents we love to go do. There's ways to get those tourists to come visit and spend those dollars as well. We have to, as a city, got to be able to find ways to take advantage of that to build our revenue.
Thank you very much. That brings us to District 6, Marty Fluke.
Thank you very much. I'll try and once again keep my comments to the short-term rental industry. If you look at the city's operational budget, it's about $124 million a year. Of that, $64 million goes into the general fund. Most of that comes from ad valorem tax, about 22 million really from sales tax, but 4.5 of that actually go to the IDC. So most of that money is taken up by public services, police, fire, and EMS. So the question is, how do we get more money into the general fund? If you look at short-term rentals in FY23, they'll generate $11.5 million worth of hotel occupancy tax. That money is restricted. The state legislature and the charter tells us where that money goes. They'll generate a little over $6 million in ad valorem tax, property tax that goes in the general fund. Now, the question is, how do we get more sales tax out of the tourists that come here? And we have 7.2 million tourists. 40% of those, almost 3 million, are day trippers that, as somebody said, they buy their stuff at Buc-ee's, come over, they leave their trash, and then they leave. So the question is, how are we going to get that $2 out of every tourist that comes to town? We're working on some public-private partnerships to try and drive them down to amenities where we can collect some more money from those guys. Thank you very much.
Also, District 6, Councilwoman Marie Robb.
Hi, once again. I think we have two revenue streams that we definitely need to look at. One would be 4B sales tax that currently goes into 4 silos, one being economic development, one being beaches, one being parks, and infrastructure. One of the things that council is currently looking at is turning it into equally 3 silos so that we would have beaches, parks, and infrastructure, which would give us more money to spend on our residents. We also have the hot tax that comes in, and we now know 51% comes from short-term rentals. My district has 1,900 of the 4,000 short-term rentals. So we need to look at how we can be more creative with the hot tax and use it for increasing safety in our neighborhoods, looking at where we can still follow the law, but yet be able to benefit, because very little hot tax gets spent in District 6, even though we have a major percentage. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us back to District 2. And the second question is, what is your vision for short-term rentals and their role in the community?
My vision for short-term rentals and the role in the community. District 2 is basically your beachfront along Mario's on the seawall down to 53rd Street. And then it's Broadway. It's basically south of Broadway. And in that, it is primarily residential. And what the short-term rent industry has done in that residential area is a lot of it has taken some old homes, dilapidated homes, and increased their value. And it's actually brought in outside revenue, people who have wanted to live here. It gives, Galveston's got a different short-term rental market than anywhere else in Texas. We have people that come here for the arts, for history, for sports, Shriners, you name it, compared to what you might see in Arlington or El Paso or any other tourist, San Antonio. So we do get, a different breed of tourists, in our short-term rental industry than anything. My vision on, the short-term rental industry is, balancing the needs of the residents in the neighborhoods, enforcing the ordinances that we do have on the books, creating a system where if we do have habitual problems or we do have an issue, what data, what numbers can you quantify that and go from there? But, I do see the improvements in some of the neighborhoods of the physical, the aesthetics. I know there's the concerns with the loss of community, you have the loss of, your neighbor, but, a lot of that, like I said, you do have some good that have, come from that with the improvements that you've seen in some of these residences.
Thank you. We'll move on to District 3, Councilman David Collins.
Yeah, the primary thing I think that short-term rentals do for us, they provide a safe and enjoyable accommodation, but they have to do so without degrading the quality of neighborhoods. I think for the most part, that is exactly what happens, because your hot funds fund the beach patrol, beach cleaning. They promote our major attractions and many of our nonprofits. We have a few problems out there, but it's not the majority of the issue here. We welcome the growth of business, including short-term rentals, and I think we can do that together without it hollowing out neighborhoods, as some people have complained, without it being always a trash, noise, or parking problem Those are not the problems I see. Those are not the issues I see when we talk about short-term rentals. What I see is a growth of business. This is an opportunity to expose Galveston's better side to people. They don't just stay in a hotel on the seawall. They stay in neighborhoods. They see how we live. They see how beautiful it is. We can use these hot taxes to enhance those amenities, to enhance neighborhoods, to go a long way toward making this an attractive place for everybody to live and enjoy.
Thank you. District 3, Frank Maceo.
Well, I think the other candidates have done a good job explaining the role of short-term rentals. I think their role, personally, I think their role is whatever their role is going to be. Okay. As far as the city's concerned, if those short-term rentals around the island can play the role of getting me some more streets and streetlights and alleys and curbs and sidewalks, then that's the role that the short-term rental industry is gonna play when I'm in office. Because I'll tell you, if we put the right fee on these short-term rentals on every rooftop, we can generate millions of dollars that we can dedicate to neighborhoods and a capital improvement plan strictly dedicated for neighborhoods. And we don't have to touch the hot tax to do it. We can use hot tax to do other cool stuff. So when it comes to these fees, I think it's an insult to the residents to charge $50. And I think some moderate fee to encourage people to register, I think is nonsense. I think whatever fee you put on there, that's the encouragement enough to have people register. I don't think you need to lower the fee to have people to encourage people to register. They should register because it's the law to register. And the city needs to get its fair share and more of that registration fee and generally of that economic activity. And what we're going to do is we're going to pump that money right back into the neighborhoods. And we're going to do the curbs and the sidewalks and the streets, and we're not going to tap into
Frank,
property
time's
tax
up.
and sales tax to do it. Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That brings us to District 4, Mikey Bouvier.
Okay, so visions for short-term rentals for the city is to embrace short-term rentals. We need to use them to promote our small businesses on the island. As a small term rental owner, we put a book out, and usually that book is all of our favorite things to do on the island, favorite places to eat, favorite places to go, little things that maybe other tourists don't get when they go to a hotel. So synergize, use the short-term rental business to help and feed our small businesses on the island. I think that's first and foremost. The second thing is to protect the small-term rentals from being overtaxed. I think when we talk about this data, we have to look at this, and it's not just data like how many short-term rentals we have or things like that. It's how does that impact our police officers? How does that impact our trash service pickup? Things like that. And so just putting a WAG number out there is a bad idea. Taking this data that we're going to have from this program and using it smartly to charge the short-term rentals appropriately. Thank you.
Thank you. District 4, Alexander Nelson.
Thank you. I'd like to see the city stop kicking the can down the road in terms of coming up with solutions for, I guess, what people would say is a short-term rental problem. District 4 is a primarily residential district. People get uneasy when they hear short-term rental pops up in their street. And, I do see the benefits like everyone before me has displayed for the short-term rentals. But I think, two things. I'd like to see the disincentivization of outsiders, not the residents who own and operate short-term rentals in Galveston. Somehow, if we could do that, I think we could better share our community with tourists that are going to be, spending a week here, 3 to 4 days, and a lot of money on the island, generating sales tax and hot tax revenues. But I would also like to see a stakeholder consensus in coming up with these solutions. And I'd also like to go outside the box and go talk to legislature and see if Galveston can be a leader and try to get some of that hot tax funds to the neighborhoods, to police, to this, back to the city for infrastructure. We can do it. Galveston can do better, but we can do it in a way where we are the forefront and we are the leaders in making policy decisions that change the state and how we all manage our hot tax revenues that come from short-term rentals.
Thank you. That brings us to District 5, Councilman John Paul Ostowski.
Could you repeat that question for me one more?
I sure can. What is your vision for short-term rentals and their role in the community?
The short-term rental program has been, I think, a great benefit to Galveston Island. We have seen some amazing things happen within the neighborhoods, just being revitalized by people coming into a neighborhood that hasn't had work done in years and fix up houses, and I think that has really cleaned up a lot of the island. The big question here is that with our citizens is that there's uncertainty in this business model, in that we have had some problems with some short-term rentals, and so I think the city needs to be clear on their regulations to protect our citizens from that uncertainty. In my district, we've got some great neighborhoods, established neighborhoods that have primarily full-time residents that live in them. And I've seen 4 neighborhoods now that have gone out, petitioned their neighbors to switch from an R1 to an R0 zoning, just so they can have a little more protection with short-term rentals coming in their neighborhoods. So, we need to expand on some of that. But overall, I'm a small business owner. I think that we need to embrace the small businesses here on the island. But we need clear and concise regulations to help everyone flourish.
Thank you. District 5, Michael Niebuhr.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the role of these short-term rentals it's got to be a part of the island. It's got to be a part of our industries. But that's just it. It's got to be a part of it, and it can't kind of take charge. I think when much of District 5, was mentioned, did come together and several of the neighborhoods got rezoned to not have them. I think unfortunately that was due to the city kind of dragging their feet on what they wanted to do, and the residents had to take it upon themselves to decide, well, we're scared of what could happen. The city doesn't seem like they're going to want to take charge, and we have to do this ourselves. I think as a council member, that should be my role, not the residents' roles. If I'm elected, I want to be the voice of residents, and I want to be proactive. And where the community is, I want to be talking to the community. I think we shouldn't limit necessarily to neighborhoods. I think we need to limit when and where that can be done. Maybe numbers. Let's make sure that we promote residential owners first and foremost over these big investors that simply live elsewhere and don't understand what Galveston's about. Here, this whole thing of let's promote what are our favorite things in our short-term rentals. Put a list of them. Put a list. These people that don't live in Galveston, that have never even been to Galveston except to buy a property, don't understand it the same as some of our local owners who have these properties that are next door or down the street that they manage personally. I think those are the ones we need to really give focus and promotion to.
Thank you very much. That brings us to District 6, Marty Fluke.
Thank you very much. So the economic drivers for Galveston Island are tourism and education, with UTMB, Texas A&M, and with the Galveston Independent School District, and then tourism. And tourism is by far the largest revenue generator on the island. So with that said, you're right. We need to balance the residents' needs with the tourist needs. I mean, without the tourist, we're not going to have residents, and without the residents, we're not going to have tourists. And like I said, we've if you look at the growth of short-term rentals. Last month, we grew 119 short-term rentals. So at some point in time, we're going to have to figure out how much of that is organic growth and how much of that is just registration growth. Because if this trend continues, the short-term rentals may end up overcoming the number of residents, and that's not what we want. We want a balance. And like I said, we are the park board, along with the Galveston Hotel and Lodging Association, which Stroh participates in, and the Galveston Restaurant Association, is looking for a platform. We have a smart city policy consultant that's working with us on ordinances to help us manage that growth. So let's make sure we don't, as we say, throw the baby out with the bathwater, and let's make sure that we have a good balance between the residents and the Short-Term Rental Association and all tourists. Thank you very much.
District 6, Councilwoman Marie Robb.
Oops, thank you. Well, I'm a fan of short-term rentals. When I travel, even to Europe, I stay in a short-term rental versus a hotel. I was one of the council people who also pushed to get the registration fee. Prior to having an annual registration fee, you had to register once. And we really had no idea how many short-term rentals we had. And how can you know where you're going if you don't know where you are? So I pushed for the registration fee, as well as worked with Claire Riceberg at Sand and Sea, Ricin, and the folks that were on the committee to share experience from other cities that I've traveled to that I was familiar with. I think that we are going to have to raise the registration fee. I think I'm a supporter of small business. I have started 2 small businesses on the island. And I think that my district has always had the major percentage of short-term rentals, and when done well, they work very well. So I will always support the short-term rental area, but I do think we do need to keep track of it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That brings us back to District 2 and Councilman William Schuster. The next question, if elected, what would be your top priority for your term?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
If elected, what would be your top priority for your term?
For my term. All right, great question. I had this conversation the other day. The last year, I mean, me personally, I brought some pretty cool initiatives to council with 5 o'clock meetings. We had our first Juneteenth city holiday. We had our balloon ban release, you know, to help the environment here in Galveston. And then moving forward, I told somebody the other day, I'd really like to spend these first couple of months investing in the human side of Galveston. So right now I'm working with my family's children and youth board. We just had an hour meeting today over a youth council idea to incorporate more young people in the city and advisory board here at the island. I've been working, just getting the discussion going with the City of Galveston app to help in the digital world coming up. And then my other ideas is just really, when we look at infrastructure, I'm a big believer in the quality of living of east to west. You know, I like what we've done on 27th Street. If I was king for a day, you know, I do that on O, P, U, maybe some places down in District 1 in Sharon's district by the Justice Center. Because like I said, I'm a big believer in the quality of living. If, you know, you have that as your primary focus, you can create economic development. You can create a lot of great things here in Galveston just based on that. So that's the first 3 things I'd like to focus on these just first 6 months. So that's what I got.
Thank you. That brings us to District 3, Councilman David Collins. What would be your top priority for your term if elected?
Our top priority for the next 2 years is going to be the exactly what it's been for the last 4 years, and that is to strengthen the island. If we had been this well prepared when I hit, the city would not have fallen over on its head the way it did. Things are much, much improved. Pump stations, drainage, we're constantly working. You know you're doing something right when people stop complaining about potholes and start complaining about speed. And when they complain about detours because we're putting new drainage systems and new sewer systems in. The second thing is sales tax. Sales tax and hot tax are at an all-time high. There's no better indication of the strength of your small business community than sales tax. And we've never seen sales tax numbers like this. Frankly, from a monetary point of view, COVID was pretty good to us because people didn't get on planes, they didn't take long trips, but they did come to Galveston. And so we can, I think, continue to strengthen our small business community. People don't want to live someplace they don't want to visit. They don't want to visit someplace they wouldn't want to live. And a business does not want to open in someplace they don't find enjoyable. So make this a business-friendly community and enhance our small business community. And finally, continue our strong support for public safety, our police and fire departments. We have a great public safety crew here. We need to keep our support behind those folks. Make this a safe and fun place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Frank Maceo.
Okay, guys, my that was real neat. My priorities are real simple, guys. Real simple. My number one priority when I get back on council is to get the funding back to our neighborhood projects and dedicate money every single year to projects, to capital improvement projects within our neighborhoods. That's my number one goal. I don't know why this council got rid of it. It was a great program. We were doing all kinds of great stuff in the neighborhood. Okay. I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to fight to bring that project back. That's my number one priority. Once I get that done, okay, what we're going to do, my number two priority, all right, is to come up with a 5-year capital improvement plan that focuses on residential areas. And what that'll do is it'll focus on streets and sidewalks and alleys and curbs and streetlights and all the things that matter to the people that walk outside their homes to go to work every day. That's what we're going to do. My priority is to bring the focus back to the neighborhoods, just like it was when I was on council back in 2016 through 2018, and we got the 2017 capital improvement plan done, pulled in pump stations, pulled in the trolley, pulled in a new fire station for us, and we paved scores of miles of streets in District 3, okay? That's my priority, guys. Bringing money back to the neighborhood, just like I did in 2016 through 2018. Thank y'all very much.
That brings us to District 4, Mikey Bouvier.
All right, so my priorities for myself when I win District 4 is the quality of life of our citizens. And when I mean that, that goes with the public safety, making sure our police officers have 29 extra officers that they don't have now, making sure that they have the equipment they need to do their jobs properly, making sure that the fire department has their equipment needed to do their stuff. Also, improve the island infrastructure. I was a project manager, project estimator for an underground utility and wastewater water treatment facilities. I know what it takes to do infrastructure. I think infrastructure is a big thing to have a good quality of life. And then also going back to the public safety, we need to make sure our officers have a mental health division, somebody that can go out and diffuse people with mental health problems instead of taking our resources from our officers who have to deal with this over and over again. Thank you.
Thank you. District 4, Alexander Nelson.
Thank you. I'd like to see, as if I'm elected, maybe it's partial because I work on the beach, but I'd like to see tourists who use our beaches to stop littering on them. I think enforcement of the litter laws on the books is a great start because a lot of people walk up and down the beach, and I talk to them regularly. I'm out there every weekend, and during the summers, I'm usually out there every day. And people, it's a quality of life thing. And that goes to another part of it, which is public safety and crime specifically. You know, we have, you know, a homeless problem. And a lot of these people, when they leave their bags after they've been told to leave or get a criminal trespassing, there's crowbars, bolt cutters, knives, bullets, guns. There's these kinds of things that are in the hands of people who are breaking into businesses and breaking into homes. And, you know, I'm in District 4. I hear gunshots, you know, probably once a week. And, you know, I'm sick and tired of watching people get run over by this crime wave. I mean, we're 70% above the national crime rate, according to the FBI stats. So, you know, public safety is a great thing, but, you know, I think there's some accountability that needs to be had because the police are doing their job. They're picking these people up and they're taking them, but then they just get released. So I'd like to see more accountability on the next step of cleaning up our city and making the crime thing go way down, because we should be one of the safest cities in America, and Galveston can do better with that.
Thank you. That brings us to District 5, Councilman John Paul Ostowski.
Thank you. My main focus is to keep us on the path that we're going. We can easily lose track of what we've worked so hard for. And, you know, I'm lucky to be married to an amazing wife, Kara, and we are blessed to have a beautiful 3-year-old daughter. And I want Galveston to be the same place for her that it was for me when I grew up. And so we need to focus on continuing to grow Galveston, focus on our residents, focus on the 3 things that I've been focused on for the last 4 years, which is public safety, infrastructure, and quality of life. And Galveston will continue to be an amazing place. So those are the things that I'd like to focus on.
Thank you. District 5, Michael Niebuhr.
Yeah, a couple of things that are, you know, real priority to me. I think we need to incentivize small businesses. We really need to put more effort into attracting small, you know, restaurants, shops, and things like that. Those to me are more important than a new hotel on the seawall. There's only so many people that can fit on this island. And when they're not sleeping in their beds, they need to go somewhere. And we need to make sure we have that as kind of a priority. I also really want to incentivize our environment. And I'd love to sit down and start a conservation commission. We have about 4 times as much coastline on the backside of our island as we do on our beaches. And I absolutely love our beaches 100%. But we don't put enough effort on the backside. We spend all this concern about shoreline and flooding and the risk of things like that. That's also going to come from the backside of our island. Putting effort into our wetlands and our natural shorelines are going to protect us both, you know, structurally and economically. We're not going to have to incentivize if our island floods if we can protect the backside. Those shorelines, those wetlands, they provide habitat, which then brings in ecotourism. Ecotourism is going to bring in millions and millions of dollars to our island if we support it. And if we ignore it because it's on the backside of the island, we're going to lose that. We're not going to have those millions of dollars that are just washed away.
Thank you. Brings us to District 6, Marty Fluke.
Once again, let me, I'll talk first about some task-oriented things, and then I'll try and raise it up a notch. But I've been out sending emails and talking to people, and I've asked them to give me their 4 top priorities. And to summarize them, the people are concerned about the marshals, the short-term rentals, beach nourishment, and streets. So if I'm elected, we'll work on those issues. And I think we can all come together and solve those issues, and we can work on those issues for the residents. But one of my big concerns is conjecture and innuendo. I want to deal in facts and empirical data. There are management, and I hear conjecture and innuendo that we're bleeding dollars at the city, the operation isn't efficient. Maybe it isn't, I don't know, but I think we can get an expert to come in. I've cursorily started a conversation with one of the big 5 management consulting firms, and they will do pro bono work on a business process re-engineering for us. So they'll come in, look at our operation, tell us if it's efficient. If not, they'll do a 2B to see how we get there. The other thing I want to improve upon is communication. We need to communicate better with our citizens and with each other. So if I'm elected, I think all of you, I know each of you, I talk to each of you. I'll try and continue better communication with the citizens of District 6 and with each one of the council members.
Thank you. District 6, Councilwoman Marie Robb.
So when elected to serve my next term, I plan on continuing on the things that I have been working on. First and foremost is infrastructure. Our streets, which we have had the pothole brigade, we have a number of neighborhoods that are going to be repaved. The hardening of Center Point infrastructure, working with the corporate leaders there. We have hardening coming in at 8 Mile Road, as well as a redundant line on the far west end of the island. We have new cell tower coverage coming in, as well as I'm working with a gas company to put gas in. Definitely public safety. I support our police and the firemen, of which I'm endorsed by both. And beaches. Beaches have always been near and dear to my heart. I have fought the beach fight for the last 20 years, whether elected or not elected. We are working in the process of how we might be able to get a large nourishment on the west end, as well as fortified dunes for surge protection. So I plan on continuing what I've already started. And thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to closing remarks, and we'll start with District 2, Councilman William Schuster.
Yeah, I just want to tell everybody thank you, not only for having this forum tonight, but also thank you to the residents of District 2 and the residents of Galveston. Galveston's so lucky because as a community, we've got some of the most passionate residents in any other city in America. They truly do love the history, the culture, and you can feel it when you go to your neighborhood meetings and your associations, your various groups around the island. It's definitely a very passionate community. So I'm just lucky, and I'm grateful for having your trust over the last 2 years. And to represent you has been one of the biggest honors I've had in living in Galveston. So I appreciate your support. I'm looking forward to the next 2 years, keeping Galveston headed in a great direction. There's so much going on the island. And in my time since I've been living here on the island, I can't tell you how much there is going on, and it's kind of hard to keep up. So I appreciate all your service. I appreciate all our council member service. I appreciate everybody's interest in serving. It is a thankless job, but it is probably one of the greatest pleasures you'll ever have. And the people currently serving will tell you that. My biggest enjoyment has been these moments like this, meeting you, the constituents, meeting people, talking to the residents, and it's probably been my favorite enjoyment of this all. So I appreciate your support. I look forward to working with you all the next 2 years.
Thank you. That brings us to District 3, Councilman David Collins.
I thought we were supposed to reverse something.
I was just going to say that we're flipping everything around now for this last round so that everybody's not the same first and last.
Okay, Frank Maceo, you're up.
Hey guys, thanks for holding this little event, and really appreciate everything you guys do for the island. That's really all I gotta say. Other than I want to take this opportunity to reiterate a promise that I've been making to everybody on Ball and Winnie in the East End Historic District. And that promise that I've been making to those guys is my very first meeting that I sit in when I get back on council. This city council is going to workshop putting decorative lights on Ball and on Winnie, and we're going to finish that project out. That's a promise I'm going to make. I can't promise that I'm going to get them done, but I promise you that the very first meeting, I will find a second, and we will talk about continuing the East End decorative light project. That's a promise. So the people on Ball and Winnie know it. I just wanted to reiterate it. But thank y'all very much.
Thank you. Councilman David Collins.
Thanks again for having us tonight. It's been a pleasure to talk to you directly, to hear your concerns, to let you know how we plan to go about addressing effective short-term rental regulations. We have 4,000 SDRs, and for the most part, they work well and are integrated into the community. We've established a good working relationship with the SDR platforms, and that has given us a great tool for managing problem properties. We have to continue to differentiate between issues with second homes and short-term rentals, between responsible operators and the few bad apples that cause the vast majority of the issues. We can't balance all our noise, trash, and parking issues on the back of the short-term rental industry. We need to focus on problems and welcome good business operators. That means a data-based approach. We're deep into that process now, and hopefully this fall we'll have gathered the knowledge we need to craft good, defensible regulations and fees that provide stability and safety and enhances the quality of life. I can't finish without saying we can't use hot tax to pave sidewalks. We work under great restraint from state law, and we can't just ignore them. We're already in the process of finding the CDTB funds to finish the decorative lights in the East End. To effectively serve on city council, you have to understand both the opportunities and the obstacles facing us. You can't just make airy promises. Every project is a neighborhood project. They are no longer pet projects dictated by a single council rep. Spending your tax dollars takes the consensus of the entire council. We also can't impose arbitrary high fees to discourage new SDRs. The last thing we need to do is get into court by implementing short-sighted, knee-jerk policies. What we can do is use the strength of the tourism industry to enhance the enjoyment of citizens. We can use it to beautify the city, to make it more fun and attractive. Let's educate our residents on the value of short-term business interests and what they do for the city. Thanks again for having us tonight.
Thank you. That brings us to District 4, Alexander Nelson.
I wanted to thank Strobe for hosting this event, and I'm running for District 4 to put citizens first. That means infrastructure, managing funds to maximize our return on investment and not simply focusing on generating more revenue. More money sounds good, but the funds we use has to be cost effective, and it will net a much higher return for our citizens. Our focus on revenue generation is misplaced and shows that citizens are not being put first. The focus should be on citizens first, starting with cutting duplicate overheads and reducing a cost with line item budget review and responding to citizens' concerns before they snowball. Short-term rentals are an important part of our tourism economy. Short-term rentals are a great thing for our visitors, but we want guests and our citizens of our community to be safe as well. Short-term rentals need to be monitored and make sure they're not hazards in the homes, like smoke detectors, beds and walk-in closets, other ways. But we do have a lot of that data, and that data exists already. You know, this helps. You know, we could be leaders and still go to state legislature. The I can't do something is not something in my vocabulary. I've always tried to be a leader, and I think being a leader means going to the people who make the decisions above you and working with them in a way where we can get these hot techs to repave our streets. We can do these things. You know, Galveston can do better, and I am asking humbly for everyone's vote because Galveston can do better.
Thank you. District 4, Mikey Bouvier.
Hi, thanks for having me this evening. One thing that we haven't hit on yet, and I'm going to link it back into short-term rentals, is the support of the bond for the schools. We really need to support this bond that's going through. And the reason being is 12 years ago, my family and I came to Galveston and stayed in a short-term rental on the Sea of Isle. We fell in love with it over a week's period of time. It made us come back the next year. And you know what happened next year? We came back and we decided to build on the island, okay? So we're transferring people from coming to the island and spending some time there to actually becoming residents. But people, the first question they're gonna ask is, how's the school district? If we don't have the school district that we need, the ball fields, the technology, the security, things like that, people aren't gonna wanna come to the island. We need to support that school bond. We need to support our short-term rentals. I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. That brings us to District 5, Michael Niebuhr.
Thank you guys. Thanks to Strobe for putting this on, and thanks for everyone who's chimed in and those who are watching and listening. I want to let you guys know I'm in support of short-term rentals. I'm not a short-term rental owner, and I have no intention of being one. But that's for a personal reason, not because I don't enjoy them. I have friends and neighbors who are owners, and I want you guys to know that I'm going to work for the city for what you guys want, not because it's what I want. I think there's a place for it. I think it's important. I think we need to make sure that those short-term rental owners, specifically those who also are Galvestonians, are prioritized, and that's kind of where our focus needs to be. We need to put effort into putting residents first in all aspects of what, and that's what I'm going to do when I'm on city council. Galveston has to remember that all of our industries will not exist if there's not people here that can live here, that can work those industries. When we force our employees to live off island, they're going to move on and they're going to find somewhere else to work. We won't have that. Whether it's cleaning our short-term rentals, whether it's working in our restaurants, working in our schools, our hospitals, our police force, and our fire departments, if we can't make it easy for residents to live here, they're not going to continue working here. All of our industries that we could claim, except for our actual beach, is on the mainland. All of those are. And if we're not making it the best city, not only in the state, but in the county and the region, to live and to work, we're going to lose those people, and we're going to lose this island. We're going to turn into this destination-only island that all of us here who live here do not want. So look for me for District 5. Thank you.
District 5, Councilman John Paul Listowski.
Yeah, I want to thank Strong for having this forum tonight. And I want to thank the voters in District 5 for electing me as your council representative for the last 4 years. I would like to continue serving my district and the city of Galveston. My focus again is public safety, infrastructure, and quality of life. As I mentioned earlier, my wife and I are raising our 3-year-old daughter, and God willing, we'll have more kids to raise here on the island. And I want to make sure that the island is just as good for her and in the future as it was for me growing up here. So, of course, my focus is on the citizens of Galveston and just to make the island a great place to live and work. And as a small business owner, I understand the difficulties of owning a business here on the island. And, I think I make fair and rational decisions on council when issues like short-term rentals and other issues that affect us come before us. So I ask for your vote again to serve you for another 2 years. And please get out and vote on May 7th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That brings us to District 6, Councilwoman Marie Robb.
Yes, I'd like to thank Stroke and all of you for taking your time tonight, since we're now approaching 9 o'clock. We do appreciate you giving us this opportunity. And I have to say, I totally agree with what William and John Paul said. The people are what makes this important. And I thank the people of District 6 for electing me to serve them. And I hope I am elected to continue. I would like to serve out my last 4 years. I would like to thank the rental agencies that helped me when I needed to get the electricity back on during the freeze. The fact that I was able to call Claire Riceberg and have them, she got the word out, and we were able to shut off the heat in short-term rentals that were coming on and popping the circuit breakers. That's what allowed me to get the last lights on, was working with the short-term rental people. So I appreciate our relationship that we have. I think it is an important part of District 6. And I would like to ask for your vote on May 7th or before, because I do enjoy the people. I enjoy what I do. Thank you.
Thank you. And that brings us to District 6, Marty Fluke.
Once again, thanks so much to Stroke for sponsoring this meeting. I will talk not about short-term rentals. I think I've done that in the last 3 questions, and I think all of you know where I stand on that. But what I will say is if I'm fortunate enough to be elected and I'm fortunate enough to receive your vote, I will focus on city services. And the city services that city council controls are streets, drainage, fire, police, EMS, water and sewer. Electricity and natural gas are regulated utilities by the Public Utility Commission of the state of Texas. They're not part of city services. So I'll move on to talk about, and I think those of you that have worked with me on the park board and even on this process we're going through to discover where we are, my vision, if I'm fortunate enough to serve, is to foster a collaborative approach to solving problems with city council. I've worked with each of you, not each of you, but most of you in that manner. I also want to achieve results at City Hall through relationships that are based on trust and respect. And trust and respect are not given, they're earned. And the last point I want to make is I want to promote harmony at City Hall and not discord. Marty Fluke, a candidate for District 6. Please vote for me April 25th to 29th, May 2nd and 3rd early voting, or May 7th. Thanks, Strogue, once again for this opportunity.
I want to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of the candidates for making this a very successful forum. It's really with deep gratitude and appreciation that I really respect y'all for all coming out and telling us what you think and giving us your future vision for the city of Galveston. I want to do one more thing. I'd like my board members to click on their cameras just so we can see them, because my board, it's a working board, and I couldn't have put this program together without all of my board members. And they really helped a lot in making sure this was a very good event.
Gina,
So-
we see you there. Ron, we got you. Who else do we have? Ruth, Vonda, Winter. I don't know
Winter.
what's going on with your virtual background, but I'm here for it. I'm liking that.
Anna, do you have any final comments you'd like to make?
No, just more than anything, the deepest gratitude to these candidates for their service and for them trusting us tonight to run this forum. Thank you. This has been informative. They've got cute swag. I'm seeing candidate swag.
So with that, we do have one item of business that we need to take care of. And so I guess I'm going to ask Anna or Gina to share their screen so we can present the budget and get that approved by the membership.
I think Anna's going to share her screen.
I am. Give me 2 seconds, guys. It's buried, funnily enough, under a bunch of forum stuff. Thank you again to the candidates. You guys do not have to stay for this forum part, but you're welcome to.
Y'all have a
You're
good
welcome
night.
for the budget if you'd like.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stroke.
Well, have a good night now.
Yes,
Bye.
thank you.
Good,
Thank y'all
good
very
job,
much.
Anna.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, here it is. And Jean, I'm just gonna put it up there for you to chat.
Okay, yeah, I can't get my camera turned on, but I can talk.
Okay.
All right, so well, I'll do part of the treasury report here as well. So our current balance is $6,864 is our cash on hand. And we have a proposed budget for the 2022. And we've already made some payments. But tonight, what we would like to vote on is our marketing budget for the remainder of the year. And in the past, we have not had much of a marketing budget, but it's kind of been the goal of the Board of Stroke to increase the membership. And we've also been having a lot of problems, as y'all may know, with our website. And one of those major problems has been getting individuals to be able to sign up, join, and pay. So with that being said, we have looks like about a $2,000 budget that we are allotting to completely redesigning our website and making those issues basically disappear. And then we've also had some requests to, when we list the houses, to have them be searchable. So we might be able to accommodate that as well with this budget. And then the next line item is a $490 charge that would go to acquiring a signage for the Galveston Tourism Summit, which is very fastly approaching. Strogue is going to have a vendor booth at the Tourism Summit here on May 5th. So the sign would be sitting next to our vendor booth. During the summit, we're not allowed to put anything on the walls or tack anything in any way to any other items. So this is a standalone sign that basically pulls up and then can be displayed the entire day, and then it slides back in. It's kind of like on a roller. And then we can use it for any events from here on out. We can bring it to our meetings, and it'll basically be something that lasts for many, many, many years to come. The next line item is some Post-its. As you all know, we have created a new Strogue logo, and we are going to need some items to be giving out during the Tourism Summit and then any other events that we would be going to in the future. So we have an allotment of $436 that will be going to getting a bunch of Post-its. That would be a very useful item. That's something that we could have our logo on that people would really actually be able to keep and utilize. And then the last item is $125 that would go towards name tags. And is that just for the board, Anna, right?
That is just for the board. And actually that particular expenditure was underneath our board limit. And we've already ordered those. So that we've already done. And it actually came in less. Gina, do you have that?
Yeah, it did. It came to like $56. So, and I can give you, I don't know the cents off top hand, I can look it up, but yeah, that came in under the line item. There is a specific amount that, we could purchase under, and I think that fell in. So anyway, this is what the vote is. The vote that we're putting out there is for a $3,051 marketing expenditure in the year of 2022, with the line items listed below that were covered.
So Randall, do we need a motion to start discussion on that? Oh, you're muted, honey.
I would entertain a motion to approve the budget.
I move we accept the budget as presented.
Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any discussion on the motion?
No.
I'm just going to make one comment. I'm just so proud of this organization, and I really feel like we've made leaps and bounds, particularly this year. And this just takes us down the chain, the next level of professionalism, and we are just poised for growth, and I'm here for it.
Any other discussion? All right, I'm gonna call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? So the motion carries unanimously.
Oh,
Great.
you know what, Randall, everybody can turn their cameras back on now that the candidates have left. All of a sudden I look, I'm like, oh, we're all still not here.
So we've done a lot of work on branding, and we're trying to get our little logo out there. And as you can see, we've got a little banner that we can now use when we're doing Zoom meetings, so that everybody can see Strogue, and we're trying to keep that out there on the forefront. And really appreciate the work you've done with that, Anna. We're starting to people are recognizing us now.
Well, I appreciate that. However, all of this has been such a group effort. We had a committee that worked on this. Vonda and Winter particularly put a lot of time and effort into it, and polite conversations between three women who were not afraid to view our opinions.
Came together. Yeah.
All of this is a group effort. So.
Okay. Is there anything else anybody needs to bring before we ask for a motion to adjourn?
I'm just going to say I'm so glad the thing went well. We didn't fall on our faces. I will breathe out and have a drink now.
I would like to just propose something maybe for discussion at the next meeting. I'm wondering about having maybe some networking events, once a quarter possibly, even maybe some roundtables. We have a topic or two, a kind of a hot topic or two. Roundtables, maybe we could even get some of our business partners to sponsor, I don't know, appetizers for the table, whatever it might be. I think they would be very popular. So maybe 30 minutes for cocktail hour and then go into a couple of roundtables. So just something to think about. Want to throw it out there and give everybody time to think a little bit about it. And we can discuss it further.
So I have a question, Vonda. I love the idea, and I think my question is: are you considering that as at a meeting or just in addition to? Because I can see that also.
I think, yeah. In addition to, I think now that we're having some Zoom meetings, is an effort to get together in person with whomever wants to join in. Just kind of something on the side that would be fun and informative. People involved.
Vonda, I love this idea, and here's why. Because it takes one of the reasons why the Zoom meetings might be a little difficult, and it removes it. Because for those who are local, you do have a local networking event, and we still have access. It was going by too fast, guys. We had 49 people in here at one point. Now, this is not a normal meeting, but I love that idea. I really love it. And the other thing is we can also ask is if we have any of our members who are willing to host it at their place.
Yeah, I like that idea too. Yep. All
well,
right,
we've got Virginia Point. That would be a good place as well.
Absolutely. Oh, there's lots of places.
One of our members, so we've had plenty of space here. That might be nice. So yeah.
I do have a brand new hot pink stock tank pool. I could just throw y'all all in.
I've seen it. She does.
Oh, yeah, that would be fun. Let's do it.
All right.
All righty.
Since our meetings are generally every other month, we can look into maybe having the roundtable events in the months where we don't have a meeting.
Yep, I like that idea.
Or like Vonda was kind of suggesting, our next virtual meeting is in August. Perhaps doing it the same month as that, maybe a little later in the month, because it's still high season up till the middle of August. But maybe later in August when our own homes are available to stay in.
Yep, all works.
All right. Well, thanks so much. And, appreciate all your work, Anna. I know you've really gone, and everyone has, but Anna, I think especially has gone above and above.
Y'all are both,
accomplished so much. It's just has been incredible.
Well, thank y'all for jumping off this.
Both of you, Randall and Anna, y'all were great.
Randall
I could not have done it. So, the speaking, the technical, all of the above.
I am now a fully qualified Vanna. I just want y'all to know that.
I love it. Yeah.
Did y'all notice the couple of times I'm not big, but a couple of times I a little bit messed up the timing. I'm like, okay, I think that was about 5 seconds.
No, I did not.
Yeah, it was funny. And then you stuck it into the camera even further. And
when it got to be 0, I was like, no, I thought that the tone set by the candidates, they really came to attack each other.
So I'm assuming, because I know you too well, Anna, that Strogue, when I mean Strogue, of course I mean you, are going to send thank yous to all the candidates and all that stuff, and maybe a message to Councilman Lewis. Sorry that we missed her.
Do we have some additional people? Is this an open board meeting, I guess, at this point?
Oh, good question.
Yes.
Well, no, this is a general meeting. We did not call.
This is a general membership.
We will be thanking all the candidates. And guys, I've already been getting some lovely texts. One of which is Michael, whose name I cannot pronounce, loved our background. He goes, very Galveston. And I'm
I love it. That's
all
nice.
Galveston all the time. That's who we are.
Yeah.
We of course will be thanking them.
I knew you would.
Thanking them.
Excellent.
And we will make the recording available to everybody, and I'll make sure Councilwoman Lewis sees it, because these are people he will be serving with.
Yeah. I'm hoping that everything's okay with her, actually. So yeah, I was impressed the whole thing. I thought the everyone did a beautiful job. So good.
Anyone else have
Oh.
anything to bring before the membership before we adjourn? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Sounds good.
Peace out, people.
Do I have a second?
I'll
I have a second. All in favor?
Oh,
Hang up. All in favor, hang up.
Yeah,
All
we're,
right,
we're
bye.
so official.
I know.
Bye, y'all.
Bye,
Bye,
y'all.
guys.
All right.
Enjoyed it.